evening. Thank you for joining us. This is the news at 7 on NTA International. I'm Ruth Aguela. Let's start by bringing you the headlines. Federal government reviews social protection policy to meet current realities. Akinwumi Adesina takes oath of office for another term as African Development Bank president pledges more positive reforms. And stakeholders examine place of traditional medicine in healthcare delivery. We begin with issues relating to the alleged maltreatment of Nigerian businessmen in the Republic of Ghana, which dominated discussions as President Muhammadu Buhari granted audience to the Speaker, House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila. State House correspondent Adam Musambo reports on this and the President's engagement with Governor Hope Uzodinma on the menace of erosion in Imo State.
Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila was in the State House to formally present to President Muhammadu Buhari the recently launched compendium by the House of Representatives, which the members called Our Contract with Nigerians.
So you have a copy of our legislative agenda.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
During the closed-door engagement, President Muhammadu Buhari and Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila discussed the fate of Nigerian businessmen in Ghana, whose shops were recently closed by the authorities following the imposition of prohibitive taxes.
I'm leaving for Ghana tomorrow to meet with the Speaker of the Parliament in Ghana to look at the issues on ground as it affects our citizens and to try and calm things down and see if there's a way forward. And we hope that we'll come to an amicable settlement one way or the other. As you know, I have set up a group called the COSAP, Conference of Speakers of African Parliaments, and we'll be looking at issues from time to time as they affect African countries. And this is one of them. As Africans, we must at all times work, as best as possible together as we can. And that's what this, my trip is about.
All right, thank you very much.
So what did the President say?
Well, he was happy. I believe that all avenues must be explored. He believes it. He's a man of peace, and he believes that every avenue for peace must be explored. And so, yeah, we're all on the same page.
And it was a warm welcome for Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State by the Nigerian leader as issues of development, especially the problems of erosion in the eastern heartland, dominated discussions.
The level of erosion in Imo State is alarming. And I've taken time to explain to Mr. President, and he has assured me that federal government will intervene as soon as possible.
The governor used the opportunity to formally appreciate the Buhari presidency for what he called the unprecedented infrastructural development in the southeast Nigeria.
That our people are grateful the completion and the opening of Enugu Airport, and we're also happy with the speed and the pace of work at the second Niger Bridge and the various agric intervention programs he brought to Southeast. And I believe that Mr. President is committed towards alleviating some of the problems in the Southeast region, and Imo State in particular.
Governor Hope Uzodinma, who updated President Buhari on his efforts at taking Imo State to the next level of development, said a lot has been achieved regarding his administration's urban renewal enterprise. From the State House, Adam Musambo, NTA News.
Well, with the prevalence of flooding and other crises leading to much humanitarian issues in the country, this cannot be said to be the best of time for the minister in charge, headed by Sadia Umar Farouk. An impromptu meeting held this Tuesday in the office of the Vice President sought for greater cooperation and support from all tiers of government, as well as the people, in addressing these humanitarian concerns, especially in the Northeast.
We're here specifically to meet on the humanitarian and security situation in the Northeast. And we held the meeting successfully and is fruitful. And we're moving ahead. Food and other aids to reach the badly affected areas mostly the salvage areas in the northeast, and you know, our militaries have been doing wonderfully well these days, and the communities are opening up.
This is one of such cooperations that we are having. We are collaborating and we are working together to see that we achieve the same common objective of addressing the humanitarian issues in the northeastern part of this country as well as other parts of the country.
Today, Unifade reports that Vice President Professor Yemi Oshibajo chaired the closed-door meeting attended by some governors, ministers, the National Security Advisor and the Director General of Customs, amongst others. Remedial work is yet to commence on Rigachukun Bridge along the Kaduna-Zaria Highway 3 days after the damage on a portion of the road. Abdullahi Mohammed reports that concerns are mounting over the pressure on the alternative bridge.
The damaged part of the bridge has expanded with the risk of the rest of debris plunging further. Pedestrians have found this development interesting, defying all the dangerous signs and marks.
With the damaged bridge sealed off, its alternative is estimated to be bearing the pressure of about 24,000 vehicles daily. The rainfall has continued to increase, and so the volume of water around the bridge, which is now burrowing into the soil that is holding that bridge. Nobody knows what will happen next.
The bridge is now the only link to about 8 states in northern Nigeria, and by 6 p.m., when the highway is open to articulated vehicles, traffic increases, leading to gridlock, with some of them standing still on the bridge exerting pressure. The Controller, Federal Ministry of Works in Kaduna says there is no cause to worry.
If you look at the route from Kaduna to Zaria, we have different work zones. We have diversions. So in the course of this work, at a point we will still make that diversion and vehicles will pass. As long as they are not standing, they are passing by. It's just like an influence route, crossing across. So there's no cause for alarm.
No cause for alarm, he says, but motorists say it is hectic, especially when an articulated vehicle breaks down on the only lane.
It is not easy because as you are seeing, vehicles are following the same lane.
The earlier they do something about it, the better.
For now, the Federal Road Safety Corps is fully in charge and the traffic is flowing slowly and surely. In Kaduna, Abdullahi Mohammed, NTA News.
Well, the incidences of collapse of road infrastructure in Nigeria, you agree with me, is becoming alarming if recent reports across the country is anything to go by. Prominent among these is the frequency with which bridges cave and causing untold hardship to motorists. Austin Ayembe takes a look at this ugly development.
Road is a critical infrastructure in any economy as it aids movement of goods and services. This explains why government expend huge capital to invest in road infrastructure across the country. Bridges feature prominently in road construction across valleys and rivers. But the spate of bridge collapse in recent times has become a source of worry to many stakeholders in road transportation.
If you observe properly, you realize that majority of these bridges are being constructed by foreigners without considering environmental assessment before this, and compromising quality is also one of the reasons as to why we are experiencing collapse of bridges across the country.
Maintenance is very important. Look at Third Mainland Bridge. If they have not been maintaining it, perhaps by now we would have been recording disaster.
As at last count, many have lost their lives and several property when bridges in Kwara, Adamawa, Jigawa, Plateau, Ogun and Ekiti states collapsed, just to mention a few instances. The recent one in Kaduna last week is causing untold suffering to commuters.
Quality, the capacity, the road is built not to carry. We shouldn't have all the tankers and the trailers plying our bridges and roads across Nigeria. Some of these things should go through the pipelines, and then we should have rails working to take away all of the haulages from the road.
People have the view that the Federal Ministry of Works and relevant stakeholders should adopt a sustainable maintenance strategy for bridges to build people's confidence. In Abuja, Austin Ayembe, NTA News.
Okay, let's expand the discussion. And with me in the studio is Engineer Felix Atume, former registrar of Kuren. He's going to speak further on these ugly incidences. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
All right, now you're aware that Nigeria has recorded several cases of bridges collapsing in recent times. Why are we having this problem?
Well, let me first sympathize with the road users along the Abuja, Kaduna, Kano Road. It's unfortunate that the bridge collapsed. What I can say is that the Federal Ministry of Works is doing a great deal of job. But the maintenance issue in Nigeria is really overwhelming. 192,000 kilometers of roads in Nigeria, just about 20% are in good condition. The budget is low. There's the need to involve the private sector in maintenance of roads and maintenance of infrastructure generally. Bridges are critical to the development of any nation. And I'm sure that the Federal Ministry of Works must have taken steps to maintain the bridges. But because of the lack of adequate funds, some of these projects, the maintenance is delayed. So what we call for is immediate reforms in the road sector so that the private sector can come in. Some of the roads like the Kaduna to Kano Road should go on public-private partnership. And if the private sector is involved, some of these issues will be addressed immediately.
Okay, so while we'll put PPP into consideration, coming from the fact that some of these bridges are old, you know, with the increasing traffic, what is expected in this regard in terms of alternative measures?
Well, the alternative measures is to make sure that the bridges are maintained. There is the inspection of bridges, and I think the Federal Ministry will carry out the inspection of the bridges. What one cannot say for sure is whether funds have been released to carry out this maintenance. Some of these issues are sometimes erosion, scarring, that must be addressed. That they could be, I'd have said they could be very simple, but if they are not maintained timely, they become a major problem. So the adequacy in funding for maintenance of infrastructure, roads and bridges is quite critical. And that is lacking.
Let's not leave out integrity test. What's your take on that? Integrity test for bridges.
I'm sure I can say for sure that the Ministry of Works is carrying out integrity test. That's the maintenance of bridges. Because the controller of works in Kaduna must have carried out the assessment of the bridges in Kaduna State. I think that is quite critical. That is the basis of maintenance. But what I can say is that in most cases, the funding of maintenance is low. So the programs will be there, but without adequate funding, it's difficult to maintain these bridges. It's unfortunate.
Very unfortunate indeed. Thank you very much, Engineer Felix Atume. Safety first. All right, let's look at other issues. World all over, geospatial information has been identified as a tool that provides good governance, development, and in achieving the sustainable development goals. Now, this is what stakeholders want to be imbibed in Nigeria at the 2020 Virtual Survey Coordination Conference and meeting of the Advisory Board on Survey Training put together by the Office of the Surveyor General of the Federation. Haman Jabani will tell us more.
Geospatial information is a tool to track, monitor, analyze, and manage any occurrence that has a location or temporal element, as well as forecast models and analyze potential consequences from policy and event. It provides the integrative platform for all digital data that has a location dimension, and it has been established that without geospatial information, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals will not be realized. The United Nations Global Geospatial Information Management Initiative established is to create a formal geospatial information coordination mechanism which maintains that the 4 criteria for good governance are planning, geospatial information, finance and capacity development, and this is what stakeholders here are advocating in Nigeria.
I am aware of the importance of geospatial products in the provision of infrastructure and other physical development, and this is the reason that the Office of the Surveyor General has been actively involved in the Ministry's operation and activities that facilitate the attainment of the 9 priority areas under the federal government agenda.
Our responsibility is to provide requisite geospatial information for all government activities. These are the responsibilities. And then what we are actually doing now again is that we are going to some agencies, we are going to government agencies, we are interfacing with them, and we are actually asking them what are their geospatial requirements.
They say good governance, which is an evidence-based decision-making, is a requisite geospatial product. Communique is expected at the end of the 3-day conference, which has the theme Geospatial Information, Achievement of SDGs and Good Governance. Hamdan Jabani, NTA News.
Next for us is a break. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. From dusk to dawn, 24 hours a day, NTA International is with you. In your living room, office, and everywhere, anywhere. We provide the company you desire in terms of balanced and up-to-date news, programs, and the best of entertainment. Tune in to DSTV channel 251, Go TV channel 91, Freeview channel 264, or live streaming via www.visiontv.co.uk. Application for iOS or Android. Intelsat 901/332.5 degrees east. You can also see us on Facebook and YouTube for quality content on the go. NTA International, Africa's window to the world. Thank you for staying with us. The Minister of State, Budget and National Planning, Clem Agba, noted that all the social safety net of the federal government aimed at bringing out 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in 10 years has been vital to poverty eradication in Nigeria, but insists that government will not relent in its efforts to build a strong middle class in the country. Chimabi Walter Inanji reports.
Gender acknowledges that eradicating poverty in all its forms and dimensions, including extreme poverty, is the greatest global challenge and an indispensable requirement for sustainable development. Currently, there is over 1 million people living below poverty line in Nigeria as a result of the global pandemic. It is against this backdrop that a high-level dialogue is organized to strengthen institutional framework for social protection and effective operationalization of the policy for sustainable and equitable development in Nigeria.
My understanding is that social protection is a concurrent responsibility between federal government and the states. So our processes and policies must be crystal clear on the accountabilities between the two levels of governance. In addition, we must make it very clear the roles and responsibilities of the various MDAs.
I'm therefore pleased to note that the agenda of the social protection policy dialogue helps us build the foundation for the achievement of this vision in a more systematic, sustainable, and collective manner.
The Minister of State Budget and National Planning, Clem Agba, noted that all the social safety nets of the federal government aimed at bringing out 100 million Nigerians from poverty in 10 years has been vital to poverty eradication in the country, but insists that government will not relent in its effort to build a strong middle class in the country.
With the Federal Ministry of Health anchoring the National Health Insurance Scheme, and other MDAs also implementing social protection programs that are relevant to their various mandates. With this laudable initiative, the government of Nigeria is on the right trajectory to use social protection for poverty alleviation, economic growth, and sustainable development.
The high-level dialogue is organized in conjunction with international development partners. In Abuja, Chimubi Walter Naji, NTA News.
Right, Akinwumi Ayodeji Additional has been sworn in as president of the African Development Bank for a second term of 5 years this Tuesday. He is the first Nigerian to be elected and re-elected to serve as president of the AFDB. Muplang Dakok reports that the oath of office was administered by Kenneth Oforiatta, Ghana's finance minister and chair of the AFDB Board of Governors.
Akinwumi Ayodeji Adesina,
President of the African Development Bank, solemnly declare and undertake before the chairperson.
Akinwumi Adesina was sworn in this Tuesday at the AFDB headquarters in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, in the virtual broadcast following his re-election on August 27, 2020. Additional is the first ever president to be elected by 100% of votes by regional and non-regional members of the bank. Dr. Additional says his administration has outlined development plan for Africa that will ease the continent out of COVID-19 economic shock.
I stand today with all humility as the president elected by all. I will be the president for all. The bank's climate financing expanded from 9% when you elected me in 2015 to 36% by 2019, an increase of 400%. We've now targeted to reach $25 billion in climate finance by 2021, God willing.
The bank's board of directors approved $10 billion COVID-19 response facility to address project investments for countries on the continent. It also launched $3 billion social bond on the global market. Dr. Additional's first term in office focused on 5 development priorities: light up and power Africa, feed Africa, industrialize Africa, integrate Africa, and improve the quality of life for the people of Africa. Muplang Dakok, NTA News.
A look at health, scaling up institutionalization of African traditional medicine in the health system in Africa is a key pillar in the promotion and development of traditional medicine in this century. Now, this is the main thrust of discussions as Nigeria joins the world in celebrating 2020 African traditional medicine. Basi Ita Ikbang reports that the theme of this year's celebration is 2 decades of African traditional medicine, 2001 to 2020, what progress in countries?
For the past 18 years, countries in the African region marked the African Traditional Medicine Day by advocating the strengthening of the linkage between traditional medicine and institutionalized care in line with WHO strategy. The commemoration underscores the fact that traditional medicine has been used by Africans for the prevention, diagnosis, and treatment.
Africa must pause and reflect on how well it has fared in promotion, development, researching, and ultimate integration of traditional medicine into the mainstream healthcare delivery system.
For the great strides that have frankly been achieved in the area of stimulating traditional and complementary alternative medicine practice. Within a very short while, it is very clear that policy-wise, we are finally getting it.
Experts were quick to draw attention to the fact that during this COVID-19 crisis, African traditional medicine took the spotlight, starting with widespread discussion of COVID organics as a potential remedy for the virus.
With strong political will, the researchers, the practitioners, and all the serious stakeholders to come in and promote the African traditional medicine in their respective countries.
Basi Taikba, NTA News.
And to speak further on that, we have in the studio Dr. Sefula Umar of the Department of Pharmacognosy and Herbal Medicine, Bayero University, Kano. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Today marks the 31st of August, which is observed as African Traditional Medicine Day. What the ministry does is it imbibes expertise from various fields, from academia, the practitioners, and also the regulators. Yesterday we have series of lectures from the academia, from the practitioners, and at the same time from regulators. And today, that's the 1st of September, we had a briefing by the Minister of State in which he interacted physically and visually with some practitioners. Okay. And at the same time, their claims, because some of them, they claim that they have cure or they have remedy for this COVID-19. Of course, this is a very good way forward for the Nigeria and for the Nigerians, because as a country, we cannot hold our arms to wait for vaccine from China or from any of the superpower countries. Certainly something must be done in-house, and this is the starting point. Thank you.
Okay, you just went ahead. I didn't even ask you a question, but you're in line with what we have here. Now, talking about this search for a cure for COVID-19 virus, how much effort has traditional medicine practitioners, contributed in terms of Nigerians?
You see, the team of, or the sub-team of this year is potentials of indigenous medicinal plant in the management of COVID-19. In fact, there are series of lectures that shows there are medicinal plants that can be used in treatment of COVID-19. Because this COVID-19 shows symptoms, and we have medicinal plants that can be used in treatment of these symptoms. At the same time, what the ministry is doing, they are collating claims, or they are collating product from practitioners that they said this product can be used in management of COVID-19. Some of these products are with NAFDAC or with some regulatory agency for validating these claims. Of course, the symptoms, like the common cold, we can say, okay, we have medicinal plant that can be used in treatment of common cold or the cold. For instance, if you take like Dixiba officinalis, that's the ginger, the popular chitta, can be used in treatment of cold. And at the same time, symptoms like diarrhea, symptoms like inflammation, all these symptoms, we have medicinal plant, indigenous one, the ones that we can cultivate, the one that we can supervise, we don't have to import. We have this plant that can be used in treatment of these symptoms.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Saifullah Umar. We'll keep trying our best talking about from your organization. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
19 is next, and Uche Ugochukwu will guide us.
Charity Save the Children warns that nearly 70,000 children in sub-Saharan Africa risk dying of extreme hunger before the end of the year due to the coronavirus pandemic. It says lockdown measures brought about decline in families' livelihoods, and nutritious food is becoming increasingly hard to find or expensive. However, the African continent now has 1,258,186 confirmed cases of the virus. Nigeria, on the other hand, reported 143 new infections from 17 states and the Federal Capital Territory, bringing the total sum to 54,008, out of which 41,638 have recovered. Elsewhere, Prime Minister Boris Johnson says people in the UK are going back to the office in huge numbers as members of Parliament return to work after the summer break. He said although he expects more outbreaks, but he is confident the country could cope with them. Russia says its number of recorded coronavirus cases has now passed 1 million. With a total of 1,048,000 reported cases, Russia has the fourth largest number of confirmed cases in the world after the US, Brazil, and India. In a similar vein, Argentina, after a surge in cases, jumped ahead of Chile and is now among the 10 countries with the highest number of confirmed cases. Meanwhile, the global tally on Worldometer coronavirus dashboard as at 6 p.m. local time is 25,722,894 confirmed cases and 856,797 deaths. That's the global COVID-19 update. I am Uche Ugochukwu.
Very much, Uche, and that's the news. Thank you very much for your time. I'm Ruth Aguele. We'll leave you with this message as we go.